Ugh. Problematic, as defined by Urban Dictionary and the top definition. A corporate academic weasel word used mainly by people who sense that something may be oppressive but don't want to do any actual thinking about what the problem is or why it exists. Also, frequently used in progressive political settings among white people of a certain education to avoid using herd-frightening words like racist or sexist. Hey guys, it's Francine Simone, and today I am here with, as the title suggests, a video about the word problematic and how it is fucking problematic. So guys, this kind of falls under like all my diversity videos because this word is used when talking about diversity, bad representation in books and how, fucked up they are. Damn squirrels! My God, one thing after another. So this word has really been bothering me a lot lately because I feel like people hide behind this word, problematic. It's just slapped on to a book and that's like, the death of the book. And nobody really talks about in depth what's going on or why something is problematic or how, if it is problematic, or whether it's a symptom of bad writing or whether it's a trigger or whether they even read the book or not. Don't even get me started. Okay, I'm not even going to rant about that. Let me get back on track. So I made a list about when the word problematic is problematic, in my opinion, humbled opinion. Which, as with everything I say, take my opinion with a grain of salt. I mean, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I feel this way. I think this way. And I'm probably right. Because, a bitch kind of self-centered. She always thinks she's right. But let me just get into it and jump into the different ways. The word problematic is problematic when it is used to mean symptomatic. All books with bad rep are symptoms of bad writing. Now, before you hang up the phone on me, let me keep going and explain what I mean. An example of symptoms of bad writing would be like the token character, the token black dude or whatever, who's always making some sly-ass slick remarks, and it's just very black of him. Your exotic Asian. We don't even know what type of Asian this person is. We just know that she's Asian. Them toxic fucking relationships that have no consequences. Yeah. Enough said. The gay best friend. His only point is to literally just be gay and be the best friend. He has no other qualities besides his gayness. He has no other thoughts in his mind besides gayness and snark. And one of my favorites, the white savior. The white person that has to go into a highly cultured community outside of their own and help them solve their own problems because their problems are so culturally ingrained. The white person has to then save them from their culturally ingrained problems, even though the white person doesn't understand the nuances of their culture, but somehow it works out. So all of these are symptoms of bad writing because they don't hold truth to them. They're fucking flat characters is what they are. The only reason why we are really gung-ho about them today is because usually these characters are marginalized people. But this bad writing also shows up with white people. So it's just bad fucking writing. Now I know you're thinking, well, Francina, if the writing's bad and that's a problem, then it's problematic. Well, for sure. But when the vast majority of the people in this community mean problematic to mean that it is either racist, sexist, homophobic, ableist, toxic in some way or another, that it's hurtful to other people. When we use it to mean that it's hurtful to other people because it continues a dialogue about a certain group of people, or it romanticizes mental illness or something like that, when it becomes problematic is when a publishing house or a publishing imprint or an author consistently puts out books with these issues in them. So when you have an imprint or a publishing company that has multiple books with bad storytelling, that's going to tell us one of two things. Either the publishing company doesn't care about good storytelling, or they don't know the difference between good or bad storytelling. That's problematic. Does that necessarily mean that the publishing company or the authors are racist, sexist, homophobic, ableist, any other is I forgot out there, mental illnesses is? Does it mean that they have an agenda against any of us marginalized people? I mean, you're going to find your troll in the bunch for sure. Lots of people are fucking weird and rude and terrible. But the majority of people aren't fucking horrible people. They're just really shitty at storytelling. This leads me to sensitivity readers, because I feel like sensitivity readers are like the Band-Aid problem for bad writing. Now, publishing companies use sensitivity readers to pick out offensive things in marginalized characters because, well, they just don't want to get backlash from marginalized people about these marginalized characters with bad representation, right? That is not the job of a sensitivity reader. The job of a sensitivity reader is to teach and or point out cultural nuances that the author has missed that leads to bad representation. Why people of a certain culture do certain things, say certain things, where those things come from. That's what a sensitivity reader should be used for. Pointing out offensive shit is what your developmental editor should be used for because it's bad writing. I'm sorry. A stereotype is fucking offensive because it's bad writing. How can you read a piece of work and not see the stereotype? Like, if you're just an everyday reader, fine, you get a pass because it's not your fucking job to do that. But when you're a developmental editor, it's your job to know good storytelling and good writing. It's your job to pick out what is good character development versus a flat fucking character that's been stereotyped to fit a plot agenda. Like, when it's your job, you should know how to do your job. Okay? Let's move on. The word problematic becomes problematic when we use it to mean trigger. Triggers are personal. Triggers are things that bother you. I mean, you could be triggered by violence. You can be triggered by social issues, pineapple on fucking pizza. And honestly, anything can trigger anyone at any specific given time, no matter how big or how small it may seem. What I want to emphasize here is your triggers are yours. Do not make your triggers my problems. Sensitivity to your triggers are a courtesy, not a necessity. I know that that seems really insensitive, and I know that we're sensitive to people who have triggers and stuff like that, but honestly, people, in the day-to-day life, I would love it if everyone could have a safe space, honestly. But you know, your safe space could be a trigger for someone else's safe space. So instead of everyone trying to find a safe space for everyone in a bubble that fits, why don't you just know your triggers and stay away from them? Now, I want to be honest here for a second. If something triggers you, it's perfectly fine to want to know if a book has certain content in it so that you can avoid it, because triggers are very personal and they could be very damaging to some people and they could just be annoying to some people. But asking everyone to be sensitive to your specific triggers is fucking ridiculous. Even if your trigger is something as hurtful and harmful as bad representation, or even if your trigger is something like violence, asking other people to be sensitive to that is fucking ridiculous. Mainly because most people aren't going to give a fuck about you. I don't mean that to mean that, you know, like the world is terrible. Nobody cares about you. Of course, people in your community will care about you. People in your community who read books that you enjoy are going to be like, hey girl, you don't want to pick up this book. Because remember how you were saying how this shit triggers you? Yeah, that's in this book. And it's a fucking hot mess. Like, even in my book reviews, I tell you guys about all the stupid shit in books. I tell you guys about all the great things in books. And I even recommend it to certain people. I say, look, if you're going to have a problem with this, you probably don't want to read this book. But that's because I care about you in my book community. However, when you ask people in general in a publishing industry and people not in your specific community to care about you, I'm sorry, you're going to be hit with some real serious, like, fuck yous. And it's not going to feel good. And I have to be honest, you should have been expecting that. And I do want to take out this second to say a PSA. I see this all the fucking time on Twitter where someone says that they heard about a book that is triggering to them and they're shaking, they're crying, they're upset, they can't function for the day. They're like literally having a mental panic attack, their anxiety is up. And I'm like, bruh, if just hearing about a book that's triggers you, problem isn't the book. At this point, the problem is you, and you really need to go find someone professional to help you get the tools you need to be able to function. Also, get the fuck off social media at that point and go do that. Don't keep coming back to social media looking for things to trigger you because that is unhealthy. 1. 2, it's probably an addiction at this point. And 3, that is terrible for your mental health. Self-care is fucking important. Like, I'm being serious here. This is not no shade. I'm not trying to like shame anybody because mental illness, like, everybody has it to some degree. Everybody has a thing to some degree. But the thing isn't to go around telling everybody about your thing so that they become sensitive about it and can help you with it. The thing is finding the tools that help you function in your day-to-day life. Sometimes that means Xing people out of your life. Sometimes that means getting rid of things in your community that harm you, that are frustrating to you. That doesn't mean making them change. It means you changing to better yourself and your environment. Because honestly, social media is like the new community. You don't even have to leave your house to be bombarded with news, people, all sorts of different emotions. You can do that all from the comfort of your bed, and that can be a disastrous thing. So you need to get the tools to be able to deal with yourself first before you even engage with social media. That's just the honest fucking hard truth. But now that I've gotten that out there, Let's move on. The word problematic becomes problematic when you use it to describe a material, a text, anything that you have not consumed in whole. You can't analyze a text you haven't read. If you refuse to read a book because it's triggering, cool. Like, you're never gonna hear from me that you need to read a book, even if it bothers you. I'm gonna be like, bitch, just read what you like, right? But I'm gonna need you to stop giving your motherfucking dissertations on this shit like you read it. Because if you didn't read it, your critical opinions need to go somewhere else about a book that you haven't read. And passages are not enough, guys. Passages are like looking at a tiny little picture on a screen of a woman being brutalized, and that's all you see. You get enraged by it, because who the fuck would think that this is art or this is okay to depict a woman being brutalized like this? But then, like everybody else who read or who looked at the whole motherfucking picture is seeing that the whole picture, that little tiny piece with the whole picture up there, rebukes that brutalization of that woman. It's actually speaking out against it. But you miss that because you're only reading passages. Like, passages do not give you the full context of a novel. Just because a passage says something terrible or horrible, or a character says something terrible or horrible, or a person is depicted through the lens of a character in a very stereotypical way, does not mean that the book condones it. A character's perspective and a book's message, like, they're not always the same thing. But if you just read a passage from a motherfucking book, how do you know that the book itself doesn't rebuke that passage that you read that was triggering or quote unquote problematic? You don't, because you didn't read it. And you know what? Taking someone else's opinion so that you can avoid reading that book because it seems like it's a problem, it seems like it might be triggering, it just does not seem like it's your thing. You don't like anything that has to do with any of it. That is fucking cool. Honestly, that's what I do. That's what we should all be doing, right? We should take other people's opinions on books, because people who give reviews can often help us decide whether we should spend time on this book or not. However, I'm going to need you to stop using their opinion for your dissertation on the motherfucking text. You know what? I'll fucking say it. A trigger for me is when a bitch got an opinion on a book that a bitch ain't read. Like, don't. I was on another website, and Fangirl was listed as a book that was problematic for anxiety and bipolar disorder. So I'm like, well, I wonder why, because I read that book recently and I ain't seen no problems. Like, but I got anxiety and I kind of related, and I saw that it was dope, with fine. But let me see what another bitch got to say about it. Let me get informed. Fucking read the review. First part of the review, I just couldn't finish this book. Bitch, click, get out, goodbye. Go step to the side somewhere else. You didn't even finish reading the book, but it's problematic. Every point she brought up in this like article about how the anxiety was seen as cute and quirky, about how the bipolar was, the message from there was don't take medication because it messes up your creativity. I was like, what? First of all, Kath in this book, she got anxiety, and that shit is crippling for her. I mean, like, some people who don't have anxiety might find it cutesy and quirky, but people like me who do see her struggle. We see that when she can't go to the cafeteria to eat food, so she's eating like protein bars in her room, that's a fucking problem, and it's a red flag sign. She's getting worse. When we see when her relationships are suffering because she's wrapping herself up in a fucking diluted bubble, so she doesn't have to deal with her anxiety, we see that as a problem. We see these red flags popping up. And her dad, when he goes off of his fucking medication and has a mental breakdown, ends up in a hospital. Her grandmother has to come down from another state to help take care of him. This bitch is over here trying to figure out if she should just quit college or not and maybe go to another one so she can both avoid her anxiety issues and to take care of her dad. All of that's a fucking problem. I don't see how any of that is condoning or romanticizing anxiety. But you didn't fucking finish reading the book, so you didn't get all that. You didn't get all that. But you wanted to write a review talking about how it did all this and that, and you wouldn't even read it. Moving on. The word problematic becomes problematic when it means critical thinking is problematic. Now, I don't think anybody has ever walked around saying being a critical thinker is a problematic thing. Nobody would honestly opt to saying that. But we are acting that way. We have stopped thinking. We use excuses for reasons why we don't have to analyze text. Oh, I hated analyzing stuff in high school. I just want to read for fun now. Side note, by the way, most high schools and schools don't really teach you how to think critically about text, which is a whole nother rant in itself. But let me just put it this way. What you learned in high school probably isn't what I'm talking about. What's another excuse? Oh, I just want to relax while I read. I just like reading fluff books. Look, I'm going to say this, and I've been saying it like 1,000 different times in almost every video I talk about, but books have literally one purpose since the beginning of storytelling. Stories have one purpose, and that is for us to understand the world around us as we see it as humans. Stories are just moments in times clipped out, whether it's fake, like a fantasy world, sci-fi, or contemporary fiction. It's just a clipping of time to depict humans in a world where humanity exists, whether we actually mean it to or not. There is no way that we cannot do that because as humans, that is what we only do. Stories represent humanities as the writer sees it, not the fucking reader. I'm sorry, y'all. I love y'all. Readers are amazing people. Do not take offense to this, but it's only as the writer sees it. There is only one person, or unless it's collaborative work, but there's generally only one person writing that story, and it is to figure out something that matters to them, whether that's love, violence, sex, drugs, alcohol, family life, pet life, mysteries, psychological thrillers, whatever interests them is what they are trying to figure out through writing and storytelling. Every single story written has a need and a want to be profound. It is just whether the skill of the writer delivers that or not. That is simply it. There's no such thing as a fucking fluff book or an easy fucking read. Like, if you go back and read your fluff book and your easy read and you're like, well, yeah, it's all these problems, this really isn't realistic. Well, okay then, it's a shitty fucking book that was written terribly, but you enjoyed it, and that's okay. It's okay to enjoy terrible books. Just know that you are a cause in that problematic bad writing cycle. Honestly, the word profound just means that it has truth. It holds a truth of some sort. And just to prove my point here, I'm just going to list off a few books because I know a lot of you are like, well, not every book has to strive for greatness, or not every book is greatness. Well, first of all, every book that has profoundness won't necessarily click with every fucking person. It's just going to click with the people who are thinking and looking for that truth in that moment. Some fucking people don't find love interesting at all whatsoever, but that doesn't mean that there are no truths in love. Just because people don't like violence doesn't mean that there's no truth in violence. You get what I'm saying? So I just want to get that out there. And then I want to talk about books that have, that are profound. Oh, The Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Anna and the French Kiss, even though that shit, the bitch is flawed to the T. She creates all these motherfucking problems for herself. She does all these crazy, stupid things. There's some questionable shit going on. On the bigger scale, Frankenstein is something that's hugely profound, but Frankenstein also asks for greatness, doesn't it? I mean, Frankenstein literally starts out and ends like on this profound journey of what does it mean to be human and humanity, and what does it mean to be a monster? I mean, that's asking that question. So that's something on like the high end scale where we're talking about like literary profoundness, where it's like searches for those things, and things on the low end scale like Anna and the French Kiss. It has truth in it. It has truth about love. It has truth about this stupid, silly shit that you do that causes consequences. You know what I mean? Like, so they're both profound. They're just on different levels of profoundness, and they're for different people to digest. Truths can be extremely beautiful, but they can also be extremely brutal. Does that mean you have to go out there and surround yourself by brutal fucking books that trigger you? Fuck no! Your job as a reader is to enjoy the books that you read. That means even if you like reading trash and you like adding to the problem, go ahead. Like, I'm gonna judge you, but I ain't gonna say shit because that's up to you to do, right? Bitch, do you? And if this is the one thing you take away from the video, I will be so fucking happy. Your job is to be a critical reader if you wish to have an opinion versus a preference. Don't come at me when you haven't read a text, you haven't read the book in its entirety, but you want to have a motherfucking opinion about it. Like, you can have a preference at that point of, I don't read books like that because that shit is triggering. That shit looks shady as fuck. You know what? I can take bad writing, but I can't take bad writing about that motherfucker right there. You know what? That is perfectly fine. Those are all preferences. And bitch, you are 100% entitled to your motherfucking preferences. But when you start throwing opinions at a bitch and you ain't read that shit critically, we're gonna have problems. We're gonna butt heads. So guys, that's essentially all I have to say about the whole problematic thing. And it's probably gonna be like my last videos on diversity. And when I think about diversity, I feel like we've said a lot. So let's just keep asking for better. Let's all do better. And let's start using the word problematic better. Okay guys, so that's it for now. T2IL, ta-ta for now, bye!